Welcome back to Uncharted, the Entrepreneur's Adventure podcast, where we are trading burnout for boldness and we build lives that actually feel like freedom. Now, in today's episode, I'm talking with Louisa Turchet. She is a kickboxer and a behind-the-scenes weapon who is helping martial arts instructors to turn their craft and their art into a business that pays them properly. We get into discussions around ski season chaos, Rome's beautiful place, brutal workplace, reality check, and the kind of wild story of buying a classic London double-decker red bus before realising that actually they didn't know anybody who could bloody drive the thing. If you're the person who is a let's wait for perfect conditions, then this episode is for you. I would love it if you could subscribe, drop a review, and share this episode and the show with anyone who you feel needs to hear it and needs a nudge towards that next brave step. Enjoy the show. Louisa, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and a bit about your journey.
Sure. Yeah, so thank you for having me in. It's a pleasure to be here. So my name is Louisa. I'm based in Nottingham, and I am currently a director, operations and sales and marketing for a fintech company. We deal with fintech and software, and we work currently in the martial arts world. So we work with martial arts clients, and we essentially help them build the lives that they want using the skills that they've learned over the years. Help them take their passion and form their own careers from it. So they themselves are entrepreneurs, and I have the privilege of working with them on a day-to-day basis and mentoring them, coaching them, guiding them, and providing the software platforms for them to manage their clubs and the fintech to help them collect their fees. So that's technically my job at the moment. I love it. I'm very, very lucky. I'm privileged that I enjoy working with all the clients I work with. It's very different every day. The clients are of varying different sizes. You wouldn't believe until you work in the martial arts world quite how big it is. And as you can imagine, how passionate they are about it. I'm a kickboxer myself, so I train regularly. I've done a bit of Krav Maga in the past, and a few other different styles I've tried with clients. So that's been a great part of my job. And my journey, the company that I work for, I've actually worked for them for 18 years and have worked my way up to directorship. And I'm looking forward to talking to you and I guess kind of a self-exploration process for me as well to understand. I alluded before to the fact that I hadn't even thought about it, but I guess all the adventures that I had that don't even directly relate to this career path that I've taken have actually formed who I am and made me the leader that I am in the role that I undertake. So it'll be a great journey. Krav Maga. So Krav Maga is kind of a realistic self-defense formed by the Israeli military. So slightly less popular at the moment, but a very effective form of combat. So in fact, my very first lesson, I don't like fighting. I'm an absolute talker. I'll if anyone tries to start a fight with me, well, let's just talk about it. And my very first lesson in Krav Maga was how to get out of a situation if someone puts a plastic bag over your head. So, you have to poke a hole in the mouth, just in case you ever want to know.
Yeah. Just in case I find myself in that situation,
You
which you obviously never know these days. So tell us a little bit more about how you got into the martial arts side of things then. How did that come about? You said you did kickboxing. Did it stem from the kickboxing or was it something else?
No, it didn't. No, the kickboxing very much stemmed from the career. So I didn't have any involvement in martial arts until I started this role. The company I work for is called Nest Management. And it was started by my uncle, actually, who's the MD, and he is passionate about martial arts. So he used to be a director at Boots Opticians. He left there, started his own company, he's an entrepreneur himself, left and started this wonderful business where we just nurture people and allow them to live their dreams. I think everyone's dream is for their income to be directly related to their passion. So, as many people listen to this podcast, will be in the great position of doing as well. So, so having worked with these guys for so many years, it just gave me the opportunity to get involved. I've always been a fan of movement, avid gym goer, and among many other things. So it was great to allow me to enter that world and try it. And it's actually quite incredible when I go. Obviously, I'm the back office, but when I go to big martial arts conferences and events, and big competitions, it's a culture that thrives on community. And what I love seeing, I mean, it's 75% made up of children that train, and seeing how that develops a family and how parents get involved in it and how the parents support the children if they want to go on competitions. And with any sport, I guess, it's not just martial arts, but any sport that a child gets involved and is passionate about, it just formulates this bond, um, and this community that's really, really strong. It's really wonderful to see. Yeah. So it's a kind of wraparound service that we provide. We uh, First and foremost, we have a software system. So that's to allow our clients to manage everything from this software, a CRM, as most people listening to this would know it. So that allows them to communicate with students, grade them, track their attendance, and so on. So there's the management part of it, the practical management. There's the fee collection. So through our fintech software, we allow them to collect the students' fees monthly. So we stabilise their cash flow, because prior to this, they would have, collected £2.50 in a tin every time a student came to train. And sometimes they brought the money, sometimes they didn't. Ultimately, it would be the instructor that is disadvantaged. So putting everyone on these regular payments means that the instructors know how much money's coming in every month, which, as every entrepreneur will know, that is crucial baseline requirement for running a business. It's also going from the mindset of running a club to running a business. Most instructors come on board, it's almost taboo to be seen as running a business. If you have a martial arts club, it's kind of taboo that you should ever want to make money from it. It's almost disrespecting the art, which, in our eyes is just completely unfair. Why shouldn't someone be able to benefit financially from, artists are able to make money from their artwork. So why shouldn't they be able to make money from what they're experts in? So, so we help them get over those barriers. Most people who open clubs don't have business experience. They just really want to teach what they've learned. So we're the office, the first port of call. What do I do in this scenario? What business entity should I be? What marketing should I do? How often should I be marketing? How much money should I be using? The accountancy elements, legal documents. So basically everything that they would need to be able to run their club as a business and get income from it.
Right. Okay. So it's more a case of they come to you with a dream they already have about setting up this club for martial arts, and then you kind of give them the tools and the ability to be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Got you.
Exactly that.
Okay. Understood. Now, as I was reading through your form, the application form that you submitted when you applied to be on the show, I loved everything you said on there in terms of some of the travels and adventures you've been on. So why don't you take us through what has been your most, I don't want to say, well, let's just say most exciting adventure that you've been on so far. And then I'll dive into other questions that I've got later.
Yeah, sure. Um, Yeah, as I mentioned to you before, it was actually very interesting for me to dive into it and try and establish what were the most formative experiences for me that brought me to where I am. And none actually related to martial arts or a director role, which is really interesting. Um, so there are certainly events in my life that have brought me here and have made the person that I am. I'm very, very excited and proud of them. I guess the first would be um, I've done 2 ski seasons in my life. Um, the first was as a ski rep, and the second was with my boyfriend at the time. So obviously 2 very different experiences. If anyone's ever been a rep, you'll know that it's not conducive to having a partner. So the first one is probably, it was definitely the most formative and exciting. So I would have been, I'd just finished uni, and I didn't really know, I did my degree in business, and Italian. I didn't really know which way to go with it. And a friend had literally just said, "Oh, I fancy doing a ski season. Do you?" And I had never been on a ski resort before, didn't know what it was all about, but thought that'll be pretty cool. And I think that's the beauty when you're young. You don't question things, you just do them. You're just like, yeah, that'll be fun. The older you get, you kind of lose that sense of fun. So I just applied for it. She bailed, and I just ended up doing it on my own. But yeah, the whole experience was brilliant. And back then, of course, I mean, I'm not 95, but back then, internet was not really a thing. So everything you did was very much manual. You know, you got everything by letter and so on. So I just remember being this kind of 21-year-old and um, just going and meeting a group of people at the bus station in London and not even knowing what to expect. Then just got on the bus, drove to France where we went to this ski resort. I'd never been to a ski resort, and just followed the journey and just enjoyed the journey with probably about 200 other people that were being trained to be reps as well at the same time. So I was learning about what it was to be a rep, but at the same time trying to understand what it was to be on a resort as well. And so we went through the 2 weeks training, it was completely raucous. I think they were really testing us on how much we could drink and then get up in the morning for the next training session. So that was definitely part of the training. And as it goes, because I was the only person that I'd said that I wanted to be in Italy, on a resort in Italy. Um, and because I was the only person that spoke fluent Italian, I was put on literally the best resort that all the other reps wanted to go on. And I didn't even know that it was the best resort, but they put me there. So I was very lucky to be able to do that. And essentially, it was just 3 months of intense graft. It was kind of the most stressed you'll ever be, but also the most joyous you'll ever be because of these friendships that you form. It was kind of this mini ecosystem where everybody knows each other on this resort. And when you left once a week to go and pick up new guests, it was like being pulled away from this crazy little world that you're such a strong part of and then being brought back and you're like, oh, I'm back. So yeah, it was immense. It was immense. I think looking back now, to be pushed to go and meet all these people that you've never met before and do a job that you've never even thought of in a place that you've never been. Now I think about it, it's really pushing yourself into new zones that are completely out of your comfort zone. But that's where people come together. That's, in those ecosystems, in those real intense environments, it's a melting pot, for people to come together in a much, much stronger way. And you just build friendships and bonds that you wouldn't in any other scenario. And I'm still very close to people that I spent that very short period of time in my life with, even though I haven't seen them for years. I would still class them as very close friends. So so I learnt to snowboard, and at the end of the season, I went up on the mountain, fell over, and broke both my wrists. And had to be chauffeured off the mountain by these two skiers that on a bed. It was just so embarrassing. It was awful. And everyone knew me because I was a ski rep. Everyone on the resort knew me. Of course, all the guests that I was with that week, they all knew me. And I was like, oh God, no. So I got taken down to the mountain and then flown home, which was quite heartbreaking. But an incredible experience. And I think, I guess, as I talk about them, for me, the things that are most formative for me are the experiences that have just been terrifying, but you've just got to put yourself in them. You've got to put, otherwise you'll never get those benefits from them. The experiences that are just so weird are the ones I think that quite often you benefit from the most.
Absolutely. And I think, as well, as you said at the start, your friend kind of didn't go with you. Imagine if you kind of just said, oh, okay, I'll not then as well. You lose out on that kind of experience. And that reminds me of Emma, who we've interviewed, who was telling you about just before just before we started recording as well, she had a very similar thing where she just got up and went. And so essentially she had this interview. So she was in Northern Ireland. She was back home in Northern Ireland. And she used to do a lot of sailing when she was a kid. And she had this like almost like a Zoom call for 10 minutes with people she'd never met before in Australia. And they were like, "Do you want to come sailing? We need someone to help on the boat." She's like, "Yeah, all right." Just a 10-minute conversation with people she'd never met before. And it was just like, "Yeah, okay." And she had the best time sailing across from Australia to Fiji. So I think in those moments, it's a case of saying yes, and wanting to say yes as well, because wanting to say yes enough to overcome the urge not to say yes.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think grasping opportunities is something that entrepreneurs will be very familiar with. And if people aren't willing to grasp opportunities, it's unlikely that you will be an entrepreneur because, if you don't recognize them when they come, if my friend hadn't said that she was going to go and do it, I would never have thought of it. So you do have to recognize these gifts when they're presented to you and just grab them with both hands. One thing I will say that one takeaway from that ski season, funnily enough, I went on to become a customer service manager before I was director. That role taught me how not to do customer service because I was a terrible rep. I was absolutely terrible. I only wanted to be there to have fun and go on the mountain, and I did not give a damn about the clients, which was absolutely awful. They were there. They were guests paying good money to be on a ski resort. Trust me, reps only want to be there to be on the mountain.
So they were glad when you flew home then?
They were probably loving it when I broke both my wrists. Yeah, they absolutely loved it. But it did teach me because, you get negative feedback from people, and it's important to get that negative feedback because it does make you feel a bit shit about what you're doing. So when you hear that, it's like, oh God, I don't want people to think about me like that. So I think that planted the seed for me I keep looking back and I think, God, if I'd have just given that guest an extra pillow, he would have given me a really good review, or he would have had a much better stay, or he would have definitely taught me how not to do customer service. So from there, I suppose once you've done something like that, and people listen to this will know, once you've done a big thing, it kind of opens up many doors and it allows you to understand that almost anything is possible. So when I came back, I thought, I just want to move to Italy. I'm just going to go and get a job in Italy. And I was very lucky that obviously half my family live in Italy. They're from a tiny little town in the south of Italy. And I thought, well, I want to go to a big city. So I thought I'll go to Rome. I'd never even been to Rome before, didn't know what Rome was like, but in my head, it was just a really good idea. So again, at the time, internet was not, you had to go to an internet cafe if you wanted to get on a computer and do anything. I don't even know if laptops were a thing back then. So I went back home to stay with my family in Italy. And I said to my grandma, I said, I think I want to go and live in Rome. And she said, well, yeah. I mean, I don't think they would even have been able to go to Rome and work there. That it's such a little insular, tiny little village. So she said, well, I'll take you to the train station and you can just go up there and have a look for stuff. So I'd made a friend when I did the ski season and she fancied it as well. So she said, yeah, I'll come to Rome with you. So we literally got a train. It was about an hour and a half from where I live in Italy. We used to get a train every day and we'd get off the train, we'd go into the city and we'd go and buy a newspaper and we'd sit on the pavement and we'd just look through the newspaper and we'd look for jobs and houses. So that was for about 2 weeks. That was our life. We'd just get on the train, go to Rome, look for stuff, call people. And after 2 weeks, we'd managed to find both a job and a house just from going there and talking to people and, and making friends with people. And they say, oh, I know an English person that works there. And then you talk to them and they say, well, we don't have anything, but we know someone who works there. And after a while of that, we did find somewhere. So I ended up working for a travel company that was right in the centre of Rome. If anyone's been, it was right behind the Pantheon. Incredible place right in the historic city. And it was a fairly decent job. I was organising tours all throughout the whole of Italy for students, foreign students, mainly American students. So yeah, that was a really great experience, but also negative and positive, because the job, if anyone listening to this has ever worked in Italy, you might think that it's all coffee, limoncello, and designer clothes, but it's actually quite a brutal place to work. And of course, this was like 20 years ago as well. So, um, our boss he was a guy, very intelligent guy, but he only employed beautiful foreign women, and pitched us all against each other. The environment was crazy. Working in the travel industry was just mental. You know, you were working from 8 until 10 p.m. throughout summer, and then, you know, had no work throughout winter. Worked in a stunning office. There were kind of murals on the ceiling. It was an incredible building. Um, but the work itself was stressful. It was really, really stressful. And although I loved being in Rome for 2 years, it taught me that it's not about the place. You could be in the most beautiful part of the world. You could be in paradise, but if the people you work with are not conducive to a productive working environment, if it doesn't nurture you, and they aren't prepared to nurture you, and therefore you aren't prepared to nurture them, anywhere can just feel like the depths of hell. And I think I just used to wake up in the morning. I could have been anywhere. I could have been anywhere in the world. It didn't really matter that I was in Rome. It was, it just taught me that you have to do what you love, and you have to be appreciated and appreciate others for doing it. Otherwise, you know, it just creates such an awful, toxic environment, which it was. Yeah. 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 It was pretty. No, it was pretty toxic. And I guess I was still quite young at the time. You know, I was 23, 25. Well, I worked there until I was 26. So maybe I wasn't mature enough to deal with that environment. Yeah, you know, doing that experience now might be quite different because I'm a lot more confident in myself. I would probably pick up on my own flaws in what I was doing and be able to. But back then it was different. Never regret doing it. I think that's important to say that whatever experience you have, don't ever regret doing it, because again, that taught me but because our high level boss was brutal, it meant that middle managers were brutal, which meant that we got the brutality from all levels. But that actually forced you to perform better, to be more productive, to pay more attention, to have attention to detail, because any ball that you dropped meant that someone's trip in Italy could be completely ruined. Um, so yeah, although it was brutal, it made me a far more efficient worker. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, it's I think no one deserves to be upset in the workplace. And that's not to mean that anyone can do whatever they want in the workplace, and no one gets scrutinized for it. I think everyone has a level of responsibility that if you're there, then do your best to perform. And if you're not doing your best to perform, then you know there are consequences to that. But yeah, where I work now, I mean, there's 35 of us, and there's no one that I wouldn't go for a drink with. And I think we all feel the same about that. You know, there is no hierarchy. We're all very respectful of each other. And that in itself makes us more productive because we want to do well. We want each other to do well. So that was a big learning step for me.
Tell us what it was like to go to Italy then and meet up with your family. Had you seen that family a lot when you were younger, or was this kind of like the first time you were really getting to know them?
No, so I spent when I was in school. I used to get pulled out of school a little bit early, and I'd spend about 8 weeks in Italy every year. My mum and dad would just stick me on a plane and send me off. And it's quite funny because I've got a little sister as well. She's 6 years younger. And so I would have been 12. She would have been 6. And we were called urchins. So they used to take us to the airport, and they'd put these things around us with little urchin badges on. You probably can't even do it these days. But yeah, the air hosts, I'm not even sure what they're called anymore. But They used to put us on the plane first and look after us. So yeah, so I spent a lot of time in Italy. Growing up, I'm very, very close to that family, which is lucky.
And what is Rome like? I've never been to Italy. So I've just got the only things of Italy I've got in my head is like Godfather and the Dolmio sauce adverts. So when you're saying you met your family in like this tiny little village outside of Rome, I've just got the Dolmio advert playing in my head, which is probably not
And
very good to
puppets.
say, actually. Yeah. It's probably very stereotypical, isn't it?
Well, do you know, it's funny you should say that. I love Italy because Italy is so stereotypically Italian.
Right, okay.
So you're absolutely right. I mean, there aren't Dolmio puppets everywhere. Unfortunately, I think that would only enhance the experience. But yeah, it's beautifully Italian. It's everything you would want it to be. People are very laissez-faire. But they're actually quite poor at customer service. If you go into a clothes shop in Italy, they'll look you up and down. And you know, it's we're very, very good as British people. We're very good at customer service. But it's beautiful. It's Rome itself is grand, spectacular, I would
Mm,
say. There's a colour. There's like this terracotta colour that's everywhere. It's you know, stereotypical of Italy, and it's just beautiful. It's sunny pretty much all the time. So even in winter when it's cold, there's still sunshine. Um, but it's only as good as the people, right?
exactly. Exactly. And it
The people
sounds
are
like you did.
beautiful as well, by the way. It was just my workplace.
All right, okay. You mentioned south of Italy earlier. What was that for again? Because I've seen so many things about the south of Italy and it looks stunning.
Or
Um, I just wanted to. I didn't write down what you said specifically about the south of Italy. I got caught up in
oh
what
no,
whatever else
so
you were saying.
Rome is kind of middle to south, and where we were is an hour and a half south of Rome. So it's all kind of in the south. So Italy is kind of the opposite to the UK. You got the south and the north. The north in Italy is the posh bit, so where our London would be, and the south is, I guess, what our north would be. It's the other way round. So it's a bit more rugged down south, a bit more rural, typically more farming areas, whereas the north is where the money is, the industry. Um, so yeah, so our family's just from a little town, not far from the beach, which is great, but really quite backwards, but in a good way, like traditional, um, homely, warm, slow. Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, you should go, Ian. You must go.
I have always wanted to go to it. So there's Italy and New Zealand. I'd love to go to New Zealand.
Oh yeah, I've never been to New Zealand.
It was on my list when I was traveling, but I ran out of money and had to come home.
That's a pricey one.
Yeah. Well, I had a job lined up at a farm when I was going to go, but because I ran out of money, all I could do was afford the flight home, which was like 500 quid cheaper
Oh,
than the flight to New Zealand.
oh gosh. Oh, bless you.
And I thought, well, I can either risk staying and running out of food and scrimping and scraping somehow to get over there, or stay a little bit longer in America and then fly home, which I did. But
Yeah,
I have made a promise to myself that I will be going to New Zealand. I'll be renting out like a camper van or something and just driving around for a couple of
must
months.
do.
That's
Yeah,
on my bucket list.
you must.
What else? What else have you done then? Anything else adventure wise?
So business wise, so that all happened. I then came back to the UK, got a job where I work now. So I've been there for many years, and as I say, I've kind of worked my way up to directorship. So back in 2017, I'm very close to my sister, and we kind of had this harebrained idea that we wanted to start a business. We weren't quite sure what, but after talking and exploring different options, we decided to convert a double-decker bus into a bar, and take it to events, festivals, weddings, and that's what we did. So It was very cool. It's very cool. And I think this is probably a thread and something I've learned from analysing this for the purpose of this podcast, is that I think everything I've done, people often see money as a barrier. But when I did a ski season, when I went to Italy, I had no money. I had no money in my pocket. You just do it and you just find a way. And unless you've got that mentality, you will never get anything done. Because if you're always waiting for the money to come in, you just never get it done. And I think that's kind of what happened with us, with the bus. So we were in a position where at the time we thought that we would have enough money to buy the bus. By the way, to buy a double-decker London bus costs an absolute fortune, we discovered. So it couldn't be any old bus. It had to be a classic London Routemaster bus.
And was it in good shape as well, though?
It was, yeah. So it used to be owned by
okay,
Chelsea Football Club, the one that we eventually found.
Right, okay.
So we went down to pick it up in Chelsea, but we went to Poland to see buses over there because there was a guy who collected them. There aren't many left, actually, certainly not many for sale, but it had to be that one. And we had this vision when it was so, I think because we talked about it so much, we had this real focused vision on what this bus would look like and what it would be, and the events that we'd go to and the fun that we'd have. And I think that image was so heavily ingrained in our minds that we just found every means possible to do it. So we thought that we would have a pot of money to buy this bus. As it happened, there are a few tricky scenarios in the family, and we ended up not having the money to buy it. So I distinctly remember it was a weekend and we realised that we wouldn't have the money, and we thought, oh, well, that's it, it's all over. And we made ourselves a coffee. We went and sat outside and we're on the doorstep. And at the time we both smoked. So we had a coffee and a cigarette and we went, God, what are we going to do? And just in talking, we just thought, well, I could do this. I could get a loan for that. My credit rating's quite good. I can get like a vehicle loan for the bus. And then we've got a few things that we could potentially sell. So we could get a bit of money to do it up. We didn't even know how much it would cost to do it up. But we'd got the ball rolling. And once it started rolling, then you have to find ways to make it happen, because not doing it is not an option anymore because you've just bought a double-decker bus. So, and then because we were excited, we were telling lots of people about it. And in telling lots of people about it, they would know someone that knew someone that knew someone that maybe could find a way to make it happen. And that's how it all came about, really. So we got a loan to buy the bus. In talking to friends, they said, well, why don't you get a startup loan to get the money to be able to convert it? There's two of you, so you can each get a startup loan. You could get 50 grand to make it happen. So that's what we did. You know, if we hadn't spoken to people, we would never even know. We wouldn't have known that this business loan existed. So we applied for it and we got it, and we converted it, and we knew exactly what we wanted. We knew the standard that we wanted. We wanted it to be oak worktops. We wanted it to be leather seats upstairs. We had a really clear vision about it, and it was beautiful. We had it all wrapped. We had the whole bus wrapped in our branding. It was a prosecco and patisserie bus. So when we went there, that was going to be our niche. It was going to be prosecco. So we found the best prosecco, the best DOC, you call it, as a Doc G, which is like the highest level of prosecco. We even went to Italy to pick it up. So we hired a van and we made friends with the owner of this called a tenuta, which is like over there. It's a place that makes the wine or the prosecco. So we went over there, we made friends with Andrea, we brought it back, which was an experience in itself because we had to do it all in a weekend because we both had jobs. And yeah, we brought it back. And I think there's a couple of big lessons that I learned from that is, one, you have to have a lot of heart to do something, because if you put it down on paper, it will just never make sense. You will find a million and one ways to talk yourself out of it, because there are a million and one reasons why you shouldn't do it. So you have to go in there with determination and a clear focus, and things will just materialize. You will find ways to do things. Chips, I mean, all the jobs that we got from it. My sister she's far more friendly than me, and she just made friends everywhere. And that's how we got most of our jobs, because she just went and she called people and she spoke to people and she knocked on the door. You know, we ended up working a lot at the race courses. We went to Country Files in Yorkshire, so the BBC, and did the Country File event. We went there. We did festivals. We did lots of things, all because of relationships. It wasn't marketing, because we sent out 1 million emails to different events companies and got very, very little response back from it. It was from talking to people, and you go to one event and you make sure that you talk to all the other stall holders, and you talk to all the other bars, and you find ways. So relationships is huge, absolutely huge. You know, you won't do anything without other people. You buy from people, right? So if you don't know people and you don't make the effort to know people, what we met through Entrepreneur Circle, right? That's how we got to know each other. So it's that was pinnacle to it. But our failure in that was that we didn't risk assess it enough. We went in with a bit too much heart and not enough. No risk mitigation whatsoever. You know, for us, the vision was so clear, there was no way that it couldn't work. So things that we forgot is that someone would have to drive the bus. We just didn't even think of that at all.
That's outstanding.
Oh dear. So
you just get to the day when you're about to go to an event, you're like, oh shit.
We're like, oh my God, how do we get there?
I love that.
So we were really, really lucky that because Route Masters have such a strong following, there are people that are just obsessed with them, that we joined this Route Masters group and then found that someone in Nottingham, so I live in Nottingham, someone who lives in our village used to be a bus driver in London. And we made friends with him, and he just became a really close friend of ours. And where we could, he would come and drive the bus for us, and we would give him a few bottles of Prosecco, or sometimes he did it free because he just loved it. And after a while, I said to my sister, I said, we can't do this. We can't rely on someone else. When we start to get more jobs, we can't be reliant on someone else's goodwill. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to have to learn to be a bus driver. And that's what I did. So I am a qualified bus driver.
That in itself costs a lot of money as well, doesn't it?
It did. It was $2.5 grand.
Yeah.
But it was for the long term, it absolutely made sense. It just gave us absolute flexibility to go wherever we needed to. So yeah, it worked out. So the problem solving part of it, and anyone, you will know as a business owner, if you can't problem solve quickly, and look outside and look for different alternatives, because for it to start with, we were like, okay, well, do we employ someone? Do we go and find bus drivers? Is there an agency where we can get bus drivers? And we weren't thinking laterally enough to even imagine that there was a scenario where we could actually drive it ourselves. So you've got to ask yourself, you've got to dig a bit to try and explore lots of different potential solutions. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And to be adaptable. I think we ended up selling the business during COVID, because obviously at the time there were no events, there was nothing to do. So we sold it at the time. We were lucky, we both had full-time jobs anyway. It was quite time consuming, but had we stuck with it, I think it probably would be doing really well. Our initial idea of Prosecco and patisserie ended up being rubbish, because if people don't like Prosecco and don't want patisserie, then it's completely redundant. So we learned from that, we expanded, we turned it into a full bar. So we then, we're selling Peroni as beer because we wanted to keep the Italian side of it, and just had it as a full bar. And that flew, that was a big change. We had to continually adapt the bus, because we realized that our colors were dusty pink and grey. So the majority of the bus was grey. Well, at night time, it just disappears because it's a grey bus. So we had to find ways to light it up from the outside. So every event we did, we learned from, and we just tweaked it and made it better and better. And I think that's what you have to do if you're going to make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. Louisa, thank you so much for coming on. How can people get in touch with you?
I can share my email address. I'm on LinkedIn, Louisa Turchet. I work at Nest Management. So I'm on social media as Louisa Turchet. So yeah, you look me up wherever you like.
Excellent. And we'll put all the links in the show notes for everybody. But Louisa, again, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed that. And the thought of hiring a bus and not having a bus driver has absolutely cracked me up. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Cheers. Have you ever felt like business should be more than numbers and deadlines? Like there's an entire world to explore beyond your office walls? Is adventure calling your name? I'm Ian Whitehead and I'm your guide on Uncharted, the Entrepreneur's Adventure Podcast, where I bring you real stories from visionary leaders who've built empires and climbed literal mountains. Because success isn't just about the bottom line, it's about the thrill of taking risks, the courage to pursue what truly lights you up, and the freedom to chart your own course. Each week we'll dive deep into the minds of boundary-pushing entrepreneurs and adventurers, revealing how they found purpose in the chaos and discovered their true north, both in business and beyond. So, if you're ready to break free from the ordinary, embrace bold action and inject a little more adventure into your life, welcome to Uncharted. Your journey starts here.